like to welcome everyone to our May 21st, 2018 Board of Supervisors meeting. Tonight's story is called On God's Time. A man walked on the top of a hill to talk to God. The man asked, "God, what's $1 million to you?" And God said, "A minute." Then the man asked, "Well, what's $1 million to you?" And God said, "A penny." Then the man asked God, "Can I have a penny?" And God said, "Sure, in a minute." Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have not had any executive session since our last meeting. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the bill list? Do we have any questions or comments about this? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the bill list from May 1st through May 12th in the amount of $838,691.35.
I have a motion and a second to approve the bill list from May 1st through May 12th in the amount of $838,691.35. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Moving right along here. Approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes?
Yes, in paragraph number 3, under old business action discussion items number 3, it says construction company in the amount of, it spells out who it is in the first paragraph, but it should be Drumheller Construction Company in the amount of $108,600. Is that just a detail?
What paragraph, Phil? I'm
Number
sorry.
3, under old business, you just have number 3, construction company in the amount of, it doesn't say who the construction company is, but if you read down further into the text, we know who it is. Should it be on the,
Okay.
I'm not sure. So that's okay, right?
You just amend it with the name?
But it says it in the text, though. Correct?
our action was taken on that? We know what the action was, and I don't know, ask Mr. Fry maybe.
What was the change?
Well, it wasn't a change. In the minutes, it reflects that on number 3, the old business. Do you have that in front of you there?
That's what I'm jumping to. Okay.
Number 3 states construction companies in the amount of $108,600 being the lowest responsible bidder with budgetary limitations, and when the bid opened. And it does not mention in here that the company's name, but it does mention the company's name in the context of this. Do we need to change that?
I think it's fine the way it's written. If you wanted to make the change, you would just note it, and we can make that change.
Make the
yeah.
change?
So you put it
Okay.
in the bold underlined at the beginning. Yeah.
Very
So
good.
you're going to put Drumheller in there.
Okay.
So you just need to change the motion and change the second if you had that already, if you didn't have it.
It was just a motion so far.
Yeah.
You made the motion, it was discussion.
Do you want to make it?
You want to amend your motion to include that? You made the motion, so you should amend your motion, if you agree. It's your motion. You made the motion, right?
For the minutes?
Yes.
I didn't think anybody did.
Nobody made a motion
no
yet.
Okay, okay,
How about you do
I
it,
thought
Phil?
you did.
I
Okay.
didn't know where we were either.
Okay,
so.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the board's May 7th regular meeting with the change as noted in paragraph 3 under old business to include the contractor's name. End motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes of the board's May 7th regular meeting with the amendment to include the Drumheller Construction Company. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Phil. Public comments. Any public comments, please? Okay, old business. Consider adoption of Resolution 2018-33 to approve the Marchetti Minor Subdivision located at the corner of Caroline Drive and Black Rock Road. Do we have anybody here from that, representing that?
We clarified the resolution with their representative, and I think if you remember from the last meeting, we said they didn't necessarily need to come, as long as they had approved the resolution. They're comfortable with it now, so if you're ready to vote.
Yeah, I'm all right with it in the, as long as the solicitor is okay with the,
Yes, we rewrote it, and I got an email from their representative today that they're fine with the way it's rewritten.
The one thing that's still missing is the dedication of the ultimate right-of-way. Is that addressed on the recorded plan? Because that was the thing, the state won't take it, we're not improving the public right-of-way, but we should accept it in case the state at some point in time wants to.
I will ensure that that's on the final plan. The final plan hasn't been recorded yet, so I will make sure that it's on the final plan.
Okay, it wasn't in here, so it wasn't.
And it may be included through the reference to the consultant's letters, so, because that's what has to happen now, is that they have to go back and address all the consultant's letters. So as long as the consultants make sure that that's part of
I
what they're
will
doing.
make sure of that.
And I will make a motion to adopt Resolution 2018-33 to approve the Marchetti Minor Subdivision located at the corner of Caroline Drive and Black Rock Road.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2018-33 to approve the Marchetti Minor Subdivision located at the corner of Caroline Drive and Black Rock Road. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. On to new business. Consider adoption of a new board policy addressing future approvals of capacity rights agreements. Does anyone have any questions or comments about this? Jeff?
We've looked at this, Brian and I have talked about this. From an administrative standpoint, there's really no reason to bring every single individual capacity rights agreement for a single EDU in front of you every single time we need one. So we've outlined some parameters for changing the policy on having the solicitor, the township manager, myself, Brian, all look at it. And as long as it fits within the limitations written in the policy of under 25 total units for something acquiring additional units, for a single EDU for a single house, and for EDUs issued as part of a subdivision land development. For the subdivision land development, we sort of feel like those are already approved as the process goes along. With the single house, most of the time those aren't going to be turned down. We do have the caveat that if the sewer treatment starts to get low on capacity, that we'll start bringing them back to you, or if there's any other issues with the sewer authority, that we'll start bringing them back to you. But for now, just handle most of these administratively and sign them internally.
Okay, just so that I understand this, we have a development that's coming in with some apartments behind the shopping center. We're looking at 500 and some, or whatever that figure is.
Yes.
That's not going to come in front of us?
The land development certainly will, and as part of that land development, the sewer authority will look, and the engineer's letter will look at the capacity to make sure that the capacity is there for that as part of the land development process. If you notice, most of the time, the land development capacity rights agreement don't come before you anyway. If it's something else, if it's usually, the only ones that come here are the single-family houses, someone's
Right.
just tapping in.
With the larger developments, it doesn't come in front of us.
No.
It's not a single thing that we have to vote on. By approving that, we've approved the,
Right. By inference, you're approving the capacity rights agreement as you're approving the development agreement and the final plan and all that stuff as we go through that process.
so then why has it always been that we do these single ones like that?
My understanding is the regional authority required a board action to approve them. That's the only reason I thought they were brought before us.
We've talked to Bill and to Joe, and we've all sort of came up with this policy, looked at it, and we're all generally comfortable with it. So maybe that was in the past, but
I'm
it's our,
okay, I'm okay with it. That
Right.
was my understanding, of that's why
Right.
it came to us, because they wanted an official board action to approve that.
Okay.
So if the regional authority's fine with it, I don't.
right. It's my understanding that they are.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And I always thought it was something that was handed down by somebody that said, you have to do this, and,
It's a policy that has long been held over, and we're just trying to streamline the process for you a little bit.
okay.
That was my understanding. Somebody at the regional authority, whether it was Bob Brandt with their solicitor or something, wanted an official action by the board that they were okay to connect, and they wouldn't issue their,
Yeah.
what is it, permit?
I think
Connection
that-
permit, whatever it
Yeah.
is, until we had approved it. So, but if they're fine with it,
I think, it's my understanding that they are, so.
I'm good with it. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to adopt a new board policy addressing future approvals of capacity rights agreements.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt a new board policy addressing future approvals of capacity rights agreements. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda, consider waiving a special event permit fee for a benefit supporting the family of Deputy Sheriff Brian Lukens, whose sons were killed in a house fire in Schwenksville in 2013. This event was already held, I assume.
It's another one of those events that were
Okay.
already held. We're holding the check like we did last time. If you look at page 24 of 25, I don't think this was in your Dropbox, but it's a letter, it's kind of a letter from Kathy Bullen, who was the event coordinator. And I'll just summarize the letter. It says, the nature of this event is to support a new memorial scoreboard dedicated to Central Perkiomen Youth Baseball Association in honor of Parker and L.J. Lukens that passed away in the Schwenksville, PA home fire back on December 13th, 2017. And it's designed to achieve purchasing a memorial. And
Okay, guys, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to waive the special event permit fee for the benefit supporting the family of Deputy Sheriff Brian Lukens, whose son was killed in a house fire in Schwenksville in 2017.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve waiver for a special event permit fee for a benefit supporting the family of Deputy Sheriff Brian Lukens, whose son was killed in a house fire, whose sons were killed in a house fire in Schwenksville in 2017. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Consider amending prior board action to authorize the appointment of a 4-member executive steering committee to begin implementing the approved milestones for fire services in Upper Providence Township. I assume everybody understands what this is all about. If not, please.
do you want to say something right now?
Yeah, just, I know we approved 3 members, because I thought about this for the past couple days. We approved 3 members last week, and now we're going to put 4. I just want to know who the 4 are. And it's my understanding that our fire marshal, our fire chief, that we pay to manage our fire department is not engaged in this. He's not on this committee. And, I'm okay with having folks on the committee who have knowledge of everything we're doing, but to leave our fire chief out of this, just concerned we're not showing him due respect to his position. I understand BlackRock wants to, and I'm reading the email from last week. I understand BlackRock wants to be engaged. They are. The township's engaged because ultimately the 5 of us decide on whatever happens. I'm just concerned that we're not actually naming our fire chief as
Fire
a
marshal.
member of the committee, the steering committee. That's my concern.
Well, I think that we look at it like putting our hierarchy in charge. The people like, well, you wanted to know who the people are. It'll definitely be Brian and Tim, and of course Joe Locasal and Jimmy Daywalt, okay? So they're, they requested to have that extra person on there. Well, and I get that because, they want to be a 2-on-2. It's like, oh, we're, outnumbered here again or whatever else. As far as the fire marshal is concerned, it is my opinion that we should keep it at the level as high as possible with Tim and Brian. And like you said, Al, everything, no matter what's proposed at these particular meetings, will end up coming back before us. So we'll be the ones that will be making the decisions, not the people that actually represent us at these meetings, but we will actually be making those decisions. We'll be approving whatever it is they decide to come back to us with. So I have no problem with that. I appreciate your concern with that.
I'm in favor of it, don't get me wrong, I'm just saying.
No, I get it.
It's, and I know this is probably a 1 to 2 year committee, probably, once we,
Whatever time it takes.
whatever we get,
Yeah.
takes to get involved, that's all.
Okay.
So I guess I have a similar concern as you, Al, in that, what happens next month if they decide, well, we want 5 people, how far does it go? And Josh is not our fire marshal. Okay, he's our fire chief. I forget what's the exact title for him?
Chief of Fire Services.
Chief of Fire Services. He's,
Including the fire marshal responsibility.
right, he's not just a fire marshal. He's, in my opinion, we've raised him up above that with his credentials. And it says in here, finalizing the drawing of the career staff offices tomorrow and bring them, there's things going on here that I wasn't aware of till we got the copy of this email. They're moving forward with things that we haven't approved or we have no knowledge of who's paying for that, who designed.
They're not moving, first of all, it hasn't costed us, first of all, we don't have to approve anything that they decide to do to their facility down there. We have to approve any monies that we expend down there, absolutely. But they're not doing anything at this point in the game until this steering committee meets. These are all recommendations that they've been making to us all along. So it's not stuff that's in the works, it's stuff that's being recommended at this point in the game. And again, and I will remind everybody at this board that no matter what happens with this steering committee, they will be bringing it back to us. We will be making the decision on this. It will be in front of this board. Everything that goes on down there will be in front of this board. I personally don't see a need to throw another person in there.
What's your thought
That's-
about that? You want to
you
throw
know.
another person on? You want to put Josh on, make it 5? I'm thinking, what would be
So
the
John, I'm just
solution?
looking right here, it says, to be built to facilitate the reallocation of space for the bunk rooms we need at the Oak Station. Well, isn't that part of the per diem firefighters that we're going to pay to be, isn't that part of our paid staff? Or
The whole object is to set the whole thing up there. And when we build the facility, is to move what's happening there up to the new facility, so that everybody has a chance to integrate with each other. All the career guys, the BlackRock, and the Public Works guys, they get a chance to integrate with each other, to work with each other and everything else in a real firehouse setting. And then when the new facility is done, they will be moving that whole concept up to the new facility. And that's what basically this is all about.
Well, it seems that you know a lot more about it than I do, so that's.
I do, and it's because I chose to sit in on a whole lot of these things, just on my own personal time.
But we don't know about. I had no idea these meetings were going on.
Well, there's nothing's been decided at this point in the game.
Well, they're building a bunkhouse, the bunk rooms. and
Well, they're proposing to build this bunkhouse.
Okay, all right.
They're not
That's
spending any money, they're not doing anything that they haven't,
Okay.
Yeah, Joe.
Joe Peters, 9 Data Drive. I saw the minutes earlier, the agenda earlier today when the 4th person was being recommended. And I just presumed it was going to be the fire chief, since he is our senior fire services individual that runs the fire services in our community. If we were to investigate the police department in some respect, would you exclude Chief Toomey from being a part of the process?
Different scenario.
No. But it is this, in the sense that we have him as our fire services executive on the payroll. He is, I presume, the most knowledgeable person that we have in our township to help advise you on our fire services requirements. Why isn't he on it? Now, we can make it a 5-member steering committee, and we have 3 Black Rock fire people on, and they can make all the recommendations, and they vote however they want to vote. I think that without the fire chief as a member of this committee is a real disjustice to what has to happen.
Any other discussion on this matter?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we make it a 5-member committee with Fire Chief Josh Overholt on the committee and make it 5 members. That's a motion I'd like to make.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second on the floor to include Josh in make it a 5-member board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say aye, or say no.
Can I think about that for a minute?
You want to think about it for a minute?
I just want to say, is it going to keep growing? Like, let me ask you.
Time out. Why don't we have one representative from the Black Rock Fire Company?
Okay.
Whoever the president of the Black Rock Fire Company wants to designate, whether it be he or somebody other than him, that represents the Black Rock Fire Company. We've got Mr. Tieferman, we've got Brian. That was the original 3-member board. I thought the 4th, I was hoping was going to be Josh, our fire chief. I don't know why we need 2 members from Black Rock to represent Black Rock. Can't one person represent their interests as their representative for our community? And our fire chief, who we pay to be our chief fire services representative, represent you guys as well as our managing director and assistant managing director. That's my issue.
Well, I'm looking at it in a different light. I'm looking at like, I would prefer to put 2 people on that board that are decision makers, okay, for the township. And those people would be Mr. Tieperman and Mr. Bortnicek. We are trying to stay off, and it was suggested that we put somebody from this board on there, and I thought that that's not a good idea
And
because.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But where's the fire chief? Isn't he your fire services
is.
representative for the township? Why isn't he part of this decision-making
It
process?
is in my opinion, Joe, that he is.
Doesn't he have a say?
he
Well,
has-
if he
has
doesn't have a
every
say,
and
then
again,
maybe we don't need him.
No, that's not the
Well,
case.
that's
He's
what
the
you're
most
telling me.
knowledgeable. He's the most knowledgeable guy in this municipality with all the fire experience.
isn't he on the committee?
Because, well, it's up to this board whether he gets put on this committee or not. So,
Can I make a suggestion? I'm wondering if can we think about going back to the 3 rather than adding and adding and adding? I almost would prefer to say, leave it to 3. I just think that 5, how are we even going to make decisions? The more people you add, the harder it is to even come to a conclusion on anything. And we went to 4, now we're going to 5. I mean, I almost want to say, and that's why I said, let me think about it, is I prefer to backtrack and say, let's go to the 3. Just stick the way that we passed it last time. It worked, they have a good dynamic going, they're a good team. Don't mess with it. That's what I would say.
well, there's a vote on the floor here. And we have to decide on whether we're going to include Josh in this or not.
I'll amend my my motion. If we could, I'll make a motion that we keep the 3 members, and the 3 members be a representative from Black Rock, a representative from the township being the assistant township manager, and Josh Overhaul, our fire chief, as the 3rd member. They would all ultimately report to Mr. Tieperman anyway, so make that the 3-member board. That's my motion.
I think what Helene was referring to was keeping it at the original 3 members, which was Brian Bornicek, Tim Tieperman, and Joe Locasell. That was the three originals, people that were supposed to be on
We
this,
already passed
on
it.
this
All right.
steering committee.
All right.
And then what happens is no one at that next level, no day wall, no overhaul.
I hear you. All right, I'll withdraw the motion, and we don't have to take any action then, if I'm right. I'll withdraw the motion.
Does that, so
I
that
had to
stands
defer
the
to
way
the
it is?
solicitor on this one here. So what we're doing, or what we have here is consider amending, oh, okay, so then you're right, because
Yeah.
we were going to amend it, so we can just leave it as it is.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
it works for me.
Okay.
We will leave this as it is. We'll just leave it as it is.
There's going to be plenty of subcommittees.
Okay. Not a
Keep
problem.
everybody busy.
I'm agreeing. Okay, let's see, manager and department head reports.
I've got to stop getting listed after the fire stuff. You have my planning and zoning update in front of you. I handed a copy out. I have other copies if anybody in the audience wants one. At the 23rd, on April 23rd, we had three items from the agenda: SEI, Divimni, and Providence Business Park 3. The Planning Commission recommended approval on all of them. You'll see them on a future agenda. Right now, Divimni, they need to get some zoning relief. They've got some use issues that we're still sort of working through. And Providence Business Park, we have to schedule the conditional use. And SEI, I think we'll probably see that at the first agenda in June for their preliminary plan approval. On May 14th, we had 239 Gray Street. It's a 5-lot subdivision. We've talked about it before. Also at that meeting, the Planning Commission recommended approval. The future meetings in June and beyond, we'll be hearing from PTC 106, the apartments on Arcola Road. All the reviews are in on that. We're just sort of letting Audubon Land Development sort of circle the wagon, so to speak, and figure out what they're going to do in response to our letters. And we also have Michael Kirk, which is a new application we haven't talked about. It's a minor subdivision on 425 Mennonite Road. They have 9 acres, but this application is just to take a single house property off of the front and subdivide that into its own lot. And then we also have a 239 Catskill Farm, which is a 4-lot preliminary plan. It's probably been 6 to 8 months since the tentative has been in front of us, but that's a 4-lot subdivision on Port Providence Road, right there at the bend in front of the old school.
Quick, Jeff, I'm
Yes,
sorry,
sir.
real quick. Back up to the 9.5 acre lot, 425 Mennonite.
Yes.
Unless I get my Google out, I can't, because Mennonite's
Okay.
a long road.
Right. It is between 113 and where Mennonite swings up to the northern part. So it's the Peters property.
Again, I don't know Mr. Peters. I really don't know him. I'm sure he's a nice man. Is it by the swim club?
Street from Bonnie Lane. Where Bonnie Lane intersects.
You're way out, you're way out.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's between 113
All right.
and White Springs Farm.
Okay. On the
About halfway.
nice new piece of Arcola Road
Yes.
that we made smaller.
Yes.
Is it a farm piece? Or
Yes.
Yes,
farm
the
is-
on
farm.
the Wegmans side?
Yes, on the south side of the road.
I got you.
It's like almost directly across
It-
from Bonnie Lane.
Does it back up to 422? It's a
Yes.
big piece of land back there.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Perfect, thank you. I'm sure Mr. Peters is a nice man too. I really know. Thank you.
Different one, I guess.
He's got a name.
At the zoning hearing board, the Verizon Celco Fruit Farm Road, Ashenfelter Road, Foley property, that is scheduled to have a decision on June 7th. And then the new application that's going to be heard on May 31st is Blackstone Investments. They've got a non-conforming lot right there at 422 and Lewis Road. He's looking to get a lot of variances for setbacks and building coverage and things like that. And finally, the zoning hearing board gave Dr. Wyrant his sign variance for Lewis Road by the high school, and Wawa withdrew their application for their trash enclosure on Collegeville Road. So they're no longer seeking it.
So they're gonna get a trash enclosure.
They're going to get
They
a
have
masonry
installed.
trash enclosure.
They have installed.
Yeah, they wanted to put PVC vinyl fencing up.
Right.
They now have to, well, they're assuming they're going to conform with the zoning ordinance, which is going to require a masonry wall to enclose the dumpster and all of the trash back there.
Will the Divini Equities property,
Yes.
they have to apply for zoning relief. So will they go to the planning commission? Will that then be presented to us with the planning commission recommendation?
Yes, we've sort of talked, depending on how the zoning hearing board comes out, we might send them back in front of the planning commission. Ed Mullen represents them, and so Joe and I sat down, we talked to them, and we might send them back to the planning commission after they get their, assuming they get some sort of zoning relief.
Well, when do we get to have our input? 'Cause, I mean, we represent the township residents, and to make a recommendation or to send our solicitor if we think it should be opposed.
They haven't made an official application yet. When they make an official application, I will again bring it here in front of you as part of my zoning report, and we can talk about if we want to send somebody at that point.
But you're not going to bring the applicant in?
No, we certainly can if that's what you want us to.
For some reason, we're not doing that now, and these things happen, and they get a zoning, you come in and tell us, well, they got zoning relief, and we're not aware that they even. The difference. We don't know.
We're trying to do it as part of the report. The idea is that the township is always party to it, is always party to the application because it's within the township. So I'm trying to include it in my report. As soon as we get the application, I put it in the next report, and to keep continually putting it in here so that we know when it's coming up, when there might be a decision, when they're going to be hearing it, things like that.
I think you're missing my point. Okay, we're the elected representatives of the township residents, and if we have an opinion based on, we talk to different residents within the township, that we may have an opinion that we need to send our solicitor to protect the interests of the township, our zoning ordinance, whatever, which we've always done in the past, and you just giving us an update doesn't give us that opportunity. We may take no action, but in the past, that's the process it used to take, and I'm not understanding why we're changing that process now.
And I agree. I have to agree with him. I don't, did you understand what he's asking?
No, I do understand what he's asking.
It is built in the process, because right now he has zoning hearing board agenda applications currently pending. So that would be the time when Verizon Cellco's on here and Blackstone Investments on here. So now would be the time on those two that if you want to send somebody either for or
But I
against
don't
the
know what it
application.
is.
So you don't actually have the applications or anything?
I don't know what it is.
I
We
got
don't have
you.
the dog and pony
No,
in front of us
we don't.
to make a decision based
And
on.
we can, it's my understanding that we weren't going to be doing that anymore, just from streamlining it, and I was going to be explaining it and keeping it in my zoning report so that you knew when it was coming up or when the application was. If you'd like us to bring applicants in again, we can certainly try to do that.
That's my preference. I mean, it's up to
I
this
agree.
board.
I agree.
And even down here, this Blackstone Investments, I have no idea what this is. And they're going for setback, building coverage, lot area requirements, and we don't have no idea what it is. So if a township resident calls us and wants to know what's going on because there's a notice been put on their property, I don't know. Do you-
Okay. I can explain that one to you. It's an existing non-conforming lot, and the reason they're asking is because it's a very small lot, and the buildable area on that is smaller than an actual house. That's why they're doing that. No, I understand the point, Mr. Peters. I understand the point, Mr. Barker. I really do. I'm just trying to develop a way to streamline to get these applications in front of you that, doesn't have applicants coming in and spending 45 minutes on one thing. But we certainly can bring them back in if that's what you prefer, if that's what the board prefers.
I have to agree with Phil on this one. And I want to streamline some things like we did just a couple minutes ago with the EDUs and everything, but some things I always want to see the applicant, and I hate to approve something when somebody is not here. We approved the one for which one, the Marchetti? But it always bothers me when I'm making, and this one I understand because it was such a simple deal, okay? That one I get. But when I'm making a motion on somebody that doesn't even have the courtesy to come in and sit in my audience here, it's kind of like, I'm with Phil on this one here, so.
Okay.
I guess then the question becomes, do you want to see because since they're establishing a process, do you want to see every single one, or do you want to get copies of the applications and then someone can communicate back to Jeff who you want to show up? Because if it's simply, somebody wants to increase a sign or put a sign in the setback, maybe you don't want to see them. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, I'm just kind of throwing an idea out there, because I know that's Jeff's intent is to come up with a process that works for this board.
Correct.
And if you want to see all of them, that's legitimate, but if you don't want to see all of them, maybe it's a function of just getting you the applications. You can look at them between meetings and say, Jeff, we want this guy to show up.
Okay, I like that.
And I think we can fine tune, it doesn't have to be done pristine right now, I think we can fine tune this process too.
I think in his process right here, if he could just show us what the application
Yep.
is, so we had an understanding of what it is, then we could say, okay, they don't need to come here, but, you know, when a.
I mean, it's your call. If you want me to have the applicant and their attorney in here, I'll do that. If you want me to present, because I know that sometimes with a lot of these, the applicant doesn't show up. And so I can do either. I can set up,
If it's not important to them, it's not important to me.
So how did you do it before?
Anytime an applicant came in, it would go to the planning commission. The planning commission would make a recommendation to us as to what to do as far as whether we send a solicitor, we take no action.
Okay.
To go to the zoning hearing board, or whether, even if it was just a planning commission where we would grant a waiver or something like, just so that we get the information, we know unless I go sit at the planning commission meeting, I don't know what's going on down there. I have to go to the zoning hearing meeting, and not opposed to doing that, but it's too late when I'm sitting at the zoning hearing board and I don't like something that's going on. There's nothing I can do. And if the residents are upset, like with cell towers, it takes me hours to get home that night, and there's nothing that I can do. The decision was made.
well, the cell tower one did come before you. And
Yes,
yes, the cell.
not
you know,
initially, but it did.
It did twice.
Right.
So it was, again, we'll refine the process and we'll work it out for you then.
The cell tower on Fruit Farm that's not on Fruit Farm came before us, but the other one.
They call it Fruit Farm. So
I know-
I
I
know
know.
what they're,
But see,
there's about 18 different names for everything, so.
I understand, and, you know, that's the thing, if people ask me about the cell tower on Fruit Farm, I don't know anything about the cell, but now, because we made them come before us, they just call it that, and it's not even near Fruit Farm, so I know that.
I think it's because the Foley's address is on Fruit Farm.
No, it's not on Fruit Farm.
Well, I'm assuming I thought I saw his.
No.
Okay,
It's on Hess Road.
okay. You know, I can clear the names too. I mean, we can, whatever process you want us to do,
I get it.
we're certainly happy to do it.
Yeah, when you're making a report, if there's something coming up, if you can give us more than just tell us what they're asking for, and maybe give us a little bit more details, and we can decide, well, we think they need to come in here, or go to the planning commission, see what the planning commission thinks, and make a recommendation to us to do something. But for us to do nothing, and something goes through and gets approved without even us having a chance to
Okay,
create an opinion on it.
okay.
Jeff,
That's it?
thank you very much. Okay, who's next? Who's going to be on the hot seat next?
Come on, Mike, jump up there.
We started the road work. They are doing the ADA ramps on Cheyenne Road, Cheyenne Drive. And they plan on starting to replace inlets and manholes this week, and then paving will follow shortly thereafter. And then we open the Klein Road bids next Thursday, the 31st.
So the ramps, the handicap ramps?
Yes.
Okay.
They started replacing them over off of South Lewis Road in Cheyenne.
So we contracted it out, right?
Yes, the Innovative Construction Service. It's part of the township paving job. They have to
Okay.
replace the ramps first.
Yeah, because I went by there the other day, I thought it was our guys doing the work, and
No.
somebody told me, no, it's not our guys.
It's not
up
our
there.
guys, it's the contractor.
Cool.
Okay?
Thank you,
We
Mike.
got, Mike, we got a lot of complaints about reseeding last
Right, I
year.
know, we talked to the guy
And you'll-
about that.
got it.
It's the same guy that's doing it again. He's got it the last 3 years.
Oh,
The subcontractor doing the ADA ramps is the same guy.
Okay.
He keeps coming back with different contractors,
okay,
so he knows about all that.
all right.
What?
I have nothing.
But you're here.
I have questions that we haven't answered.
I have a question for you. You're dealing with the spares lane thing. Have you heard from PennDOT on the recommendation that they do a one-way in, one-way out of this development?
We,
Microphone. Captain back there is going to get you the microphone.
we have not wrapped up our evaluation of it. We anticipate getting that wrapped up very shortly.
Okay, so that hasn't gone to PennDOT yet for the request.
Correct. Again, the first thing we need to do is make sure that it is feasible, and we are wrapping that up.
Is it feasible?
I don't believe so, but we are. I'll be able to wrap that up very shortly in the next couple of days.
Tell us really how you think.
It's okay to be the bearer of bad news.
I don't want to give anything definitive yet. We do need to finish up a few things. I don't think it's going to be feasible, but we are just confirming the speeds on the roadway now.
What do you look at? What is it, high level, what do you look at
The,
to see if it's feasible?
the issue is, if you look at the posted speed limit, there is minimum sight distance. But the problem is vehicles travel more than the posted speed limit. So we want to make sure that there is adequate minimum sight distance based on the speed that vehicles are traveling. So we're trying to confirm the speed that vehicles are traveling at this point, and we have not had a chance to do that final step.
Well, he already knows that everybody that comes down that hill is going a little too
Yeah,
fast.
right. Yeah.
So he's probably
They're
right.
not riding their brakes or saving gas.
That's right. Ken, thank you. Anybody have any other questions of Ken? Okay, manager highlights.
I'm not going to read my report if there's any questions from what I sent.
No, I read it earlier today. I'm satisfied with everything. Does anybody else have any questions on, I'll give you guys a minute or so if you need.
Sorry it was so late, but
Not a problem.
I think we're good.
one thing I guess I could point out, the Phoenixville intermodal study is going to be done shortly. And in your Dropbox, is probably almost, I don't know if it's a 100 or 200 page document for your reading.
We have our last meeting on Friday, so I will be able to update the schedule. My assumption is that they will bring Chester County and everyone involved will come and put a show on for you, put some information up and explain the plan and explain what the recommendations of the plan are. But I will know the schedule better on Friday.
If that goes forward, does that help us with the aligning the Walnut Jacob thing? Is that a feather in our cap to have this thing move forward then?
Certainly. I think it helps anytime you have regional players involved in saying something is important. I think it certainly helps. There's no money tied to it. There's no grant funding tied to it. It really is just a recommendation and a plan. But we can use that whenever we put in other grants saying, these 7 municipalities, 8 municipalities all recommended that we do this. We think it would really help out the region. It does help out grant applications.
Okay. Thanks.
And since we knew that there was going to be a direct recommendation, we did include that in the last grant application for the Montclair intersection.
Okay, that's already been presented, and we're just waiting on a,
Yes.
okay. Thanks, guys. Solicitor's report.
At the last meeting, Craig Moyer of 37 Iroquois Court came in speaking of the ash trees that were falling behind his property, and the board asked that we send a letter. That letter did go out between meetings. So, all right, you're welcome.
Subject up,
Yep.
are you familiar with that project back there?
And,
That the property owner's legal representative is not here tonight, who was here last night, last meeting. And this has been going on, John, as you know, probably from your very first term many years ago.
Forever. Forever.
This board can somehow resolve that issue, because it comes up every time, after every election, something comes up. And, you know, I don't want to waste a lot of time now filling in people how much I know about it, but there's a pond on the property that was supposed to be dedicated to the township, and then the developer cleaned it all up, and then the township decided they didn't want to take it, and he stuck with all these parcels of space back there. And prior to Brian coming on board, our previous township building and zoning said that if somebody came in with, they could put
a house on it.
yeah, and I don't think that they can. I don't think, you know,
I don't
because
think so either.
but that was the argument we're going to, and went back and forth. It's been going on a long time. It'd be nice to just resolve this once and for all, one way or another. And I don't
Well,
know
you
the
can make the
answer.
guy an offer,
He was going to give it to us at one point if we took the pond.
but there's a liability with the pond. Do we have to keep the pond? Can we drain the pond?
stay.
It's a retention basin, right?
Well, it's a pond that's used as part of the retention basin.
Yeah.
We talked about fencing and that sort of thing there, but that's, I don't have the solution. We've talked numerous things. He was going to build another house and put the pond on that property, but we didn't think that giving him an additional building lot was fair to the people that were in that development, or the neighbors would not have a house next to them. Now they would have a house next to them, so.
Who do we direct to look into this a little bit further and, don't everybody jump up at one time?
Well, Mike and Bill are very familiar, Bill's very familiar with it. I don't know how, I know you've been involved with it recently, and then I'm sure you have a legal file on it somewhere that's.
Can you take a quick look at
What
this
what was
thing
the name of the development?
It was one of the Mingos, or it's the Dana Drive, Donna Drive.
Dana Drive.
Dale, Donna, and
Yes, the 3Ds.
Yes.
I don't remember the name. It's been,
Yes.
I mean,
Grandkids.
yeah, that's how long it's been going on. It's been, how long is that, John, do you think? 20 years, 30 years, 25?
20-some years.
Yeah.
20-some years. It's been going on.
So when you say it's been going on, it's this property that's a liability, the guy came in and said it's.
Well, at one point, they wanted to put paintball back in there, and.
Yes.
And Lee Milligan stopped them from doing that. Then he came, there's nothing that he can do with it. Our opinion is nothing he can do with the property. His opinion is somewhat different. He has property that meets our zoning ordinance, but it's supposed to be open space, but is it open space? Is it shown on the plan as open space? That was a discussion, I think, the
Yeah.
last time.
Yes.
Like I said, I don't have a solution to it, but it would be nice to close out that file, don't you think, Mike? I don't know, I don't have,
Because that's your problem.
We'll make the guy an offer he can't refuse. All right, Mike, you're going to look into it if you would, please. You and Bill, thank you. Anything else, Mr. Solicitor?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. Supervisors' comments? No comments? Anybody? Okay, we have scheduled staff, Board of Supervisors Goals Workshop scheduled. Tim, do we have a time on that? And the other one above that, we have a summer board schedule. Is that posted somewhere?
There's been a tradition that in July and August, we do one meeting a month with maybe some other filler time for some workshops.
Okay, do we need to take any motion on these things, or is it
If
just a
you're
matter
okay
of?
with that, we can put the proper, I think that basically what you would do is cancel the second meeting.
Do we need to advertise this? Nothing?
Because the calendar's already advertised, you were saying simply would be just canceling the meeting. So
Okay.
you would probably just announce it each month, that the next one's canceled and the following meeting is the following month.
Okay. And just so that everyone knows, this evening, there will be an executive session following this meeting this evening on personal matters, so personnel matters. And I have nothing to add. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second for adjournment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much.